Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively we are the Office Blokes.
Yes.
We are the single worst Office Blokes in Europe at not being Office Blokes.
No, wrong, didn't work.
No, it's terrible that one. It's worth a go.
Lost me.
We are the Office Blokes and we've got a Patreon page.
Yes, we have. Go to patreon.com, put in Office Blokes React. If you fancy supporting the channel, like a load of people have done already, which would be much appreciated.
Yep.
Go down there, check it out.
Yeah. Nice one. And we've got a couple of other channels.
Got Mike's OnlyFans page.
Yep.
You seen it?
He's just getting started, but as
You
much
don't know he's got
support
it yet.
possible.
We've got Office Blokes Try, where we try stuff. Check it out. And Office Blokes Podcast, where we do podcasts. Check it out.
Yeah, good stuff. And merch.
Oh, yeah.
Link in the description that doesn't work, but I'll fix it. Don't worry. So we're fresh out of what every country in Europe is worst at, A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the motherfucking K, yo.
Yeah, we've done that.
And there was some well interesting stats on there, wasn't there? Yeah.
Like that emoji, right? He's like in the middle of Spain or France or something.
Spain?
It's Germany, though.
Or is it even further over?
Belgium.
Oh, yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, Belgium,
Yeah.
no, that's to the left of it.
Anyway,
Spain.
It's down there, ain't it? Yeah.
So yeah, proper interesting stats and some quite sad ones as well, to be fair, like the Bulgarian population and unemployment in Kosovo and stuff is absolutely crackers.
I realise it's Turkey.
Oh, Wales.
Turdistone.
We're going to get into part 2 because we desperately want to see what we're worst at.
We do.
That's the main reason.
Fucking massive list it'll be.
Taking bets now, yeah.
Yeah. So we've not had
probably most of the video.
Did we have France and Germany?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we went to K, didn't we? All right, I can't. The only way I can do the alphabet, this is a fun fact, is by starting at A and going through it in my head.
Yeah.
It's never stuck.
How else do you do the alphabet? You don't start just shouting random letters out, do you? Like L, P, J, C. You don't do the alphabet like that, do you?
No,
you
but
do it in chronological order, don't you? Like A, B, C, D.
But I have to go back in my head. I have to go back to A to actually know what comes next.
Oh, right.
If it's
so you can't start at L.
It just something in my brain just doesn't do it.
Oh dear.
Seriously,
that's strange.
That's why on Countdown I cannot do the words. Right. Literally can't do it. It's just something I look at them and it's just jumbled up letters to me. I don't see.
That's exactly what it is. It's jumbled up letters.
Yeah,
I've got to make a word out of it.
Some people look at that and they'll be like things,
okay.
But for me, it just doesn't compute. Don't work whatsoever. Yeah. It's like being colourblind, but to letters.
So in future, when we communicate, we'll write them down in like coded words, and it never work. It
never suss it out.
Yeah, but I am good at maths, so I can figure out codes. So that's not going to work. Anyway, digressing massively. What every country in Europe is worst at, part 2. Let's do it. Go on then. And what did you say the UK would be?
Teenage pregnancy.
Right. I think spice use, to be fair.
Country in the world is best and worst at something, and you're watching part 2 of what every country in Europe specifically is the worst at. Part 1 covered every European country between A and K, and it's linked in the description if you need to watch it. And this part is covering every country between L and V. So let's kick things off with Latvia, which has plenty of potatoes, but doesn't have plenty of men. Latvia has the least amount of men per capita in Europe, with only 0.86 men in the country for every 1 woman. Liechtenstein is technically the least visited country in Europe, but that's mostly just because it's so small. They only received 69,000 visitors in 2017. Lithuania is actually tied precisely with Latvia for having the least amount of men in the country. There are 16.
I see now why Lithuania, Latvia are big for stag parties.
Stag do's, yeah. Dirt cheap beer.
Yep.
I know Dave's got an holiday this year as well. Least amount of men.
No, bit of friendly competition's fine. I don't need to play the odds to get some love.
You do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
15% more women in both Lithuania and Latvia than men. For being so tiny, Luxembourg is actually the worst in Europe at a lot of things. For starters, they have the largest ecological footprint of any country in the entire world. The average Luxembourger has double the ecological footprint of the average American. Luxembourg produces the most CO2 emissions per capita of any country in Europe. They have the world's highest divorce rate at roughly 87% of marriages ending in one, and they have the highest rent found anywhere in Europe and the 3rd highest in the entire world. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in the city center is over 1,500 euros a month. Malta is Europe.
You can see why that is, though, because they've got you by the balls. When the wife kicks you out and you need to find somewhere to live, they can charge whatever they want for the rent.
Why do you have to find somewhere to live? Why are you getting kicked out?
I've got 2 houses, thank you very much.
Getting kicked out. He kicked out both of them, and he lives in the other one on his own.
Yeah, whatever. But what was that, 87%?
87%.
Yeah, that is
divorce
nuts,
rate.
isn't it? Wow.
Why would you even bother when the stats are that high?
Yeah, look
What's
at the stats
the
thing.
point?
Yeah, just don't bother. Cut out the middleman.
Big that.
Some countries, it's a little bit skewed because some countries in Europe, people don't own properties, though, as well. So rent is higher because it's just normal.
A place like Germany, I think it's quite high, isn't it?
Germany's
Renting,
high,
they're
yeah.
big on renting, aren't they?
Well, when I went to Switzerland, it's just no one owns the property they live in.
Yeah.
Everyone rents.
Do they?
And it's,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's quite a lot of. They're not high rises, but they're very tall buildings, but
Yeah.
they're quite old buildings. And you've just got families just living in what we'd call a flat or an apartment.
Yeah.
But that's normal everywhere, like across the board.
Yeah.
Houses and gardens and stuff aren't really as. That was in Basel anyway, which is quite
Yeah.
a built-up area.
Hottest country, with an average yearly temperature of 19.2 degrees Celsius. It's also Europe's most religious country, excluding the Vatican, with 86% of the population saying that religion is important to their lives, and which makes Malta roughly just as religious as Estonia is irreligious. Malta also has Europe's lowest literacy rate, with 6.7% of the population over 15 not being able to read or write. Moldova has a lot of issues.
So everyone's religious, but loads of people can't read or write.
Well, when I was a kid, I went to Malta. There's one for you. And I went with my dad. We went on a pub trip, believe it or not. But
Right.
my dad told me I was only about 12. And I found this shop that used to give you an exchange rate that was quite high for the pound.
Right.
Right? And I can't remember what currency they used at the time in Malta. But I found that they only give you that exchange rate if you bought something from the shop. And it was a jeweller's. So I was going in with, say, £100, buying some earrings, and coming out with the equivalent of, say, £130 that when I took back home, I exchanged back and got £130 for, so I was getting bigger exchange rate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work out what they were doing. Obviously laundering money, or I was doing something. But it was working out, and I calculated. I was telling everyone on the trip, and going, no, if you go in and change your money here, you buy a cheap pair of earrings or whatever they're selling, you come out with more money than you went in with, but obviously it's in Maltese, I can't remember what the currency was.
Yeah.
But then you change it back, and you still got more money.
Yeah.
And it worked, and I came back with more money than I went with. I was only a young kid.
Yeah.
Got loads of money and loads of blood diamonds.
That was that was my first transition in being a young entrepreneur.
That's when you first started wearing earrings as well.
Exactly. Everyone got earrings as gifts. All the girls at school. Here you go. This is what brought you back from Malta.
Christmas presents,
Christmas,
birthdays,
just giving them out,
everything.
dishing them out in school.
Smooth.
I was Casanova.
Better over you, didn't they? Hey.
According to the IMF, Moldova has the lowest GDP per capita of any country in Europe at only $3,300 per citizen. Moldova also has
Europe's least visited country, wasn't that Lithuania before?
No, that was the population of the men against women.
There was one of them that he showed before that he said it's
Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein.
Yeah, it was. It had like 20,000 or something, was it? Or
68,000 people passed through last year, it said.
the highest rate of de-urbanization in the world, with a city growth rate of negative 1.5% on average per year. Moldova is also truly Europe's least visited country, since they only received 145,000 visitors for all of
Half of the size.
2017, which is only one tourist for every 24 citizens in the country. People just don't ever come to visit Moldova, and for decent reasons. It has the worst access to improved sanitation facilities in Europe, with only 76% of the population having access to a toilet. And it also has Europe's highest amount of child labor, with 24.3% of the children in the country taking part in the labor force, according to UNICEF. Monaco has the lowest percentage of young people in the world, with the average age of their citizens being 52.4 years. They also spend the least on education in Europe, with only 1.5%.
You'd be young there, Mike. You'd be known as Young Mike.
Spring chicken over there.
You'd be known as Young Mike over there, wouldn't you? Hey? Who's that young guy that's here? Hey? Over in Monaco.
Bit of crumpet.
on his skateboard.
It's so expensive, isn't it, Monaco? That's why the population is old, because no young people can live there.
Well, that's why they don't need,
they don't need education,
do they? So
right.
because they're all
because they know it all.
They're all old.
of Monaco's GDP being contributed. Excluding the tiny city-states of Liechtenstein and San Marino, Montenegro has Europe's shortest, tallest building. The tallest building in the country is only 65 meters tall, which is even shorter than the tallest buildings of Andorra, Monaco, Vatican City, and Malta. The Netherlands has the highest rate of wealth inequality not only in Europe, but in the entire world. The top 1% of Dutch citizens own more than 1/3 of all the private wealth in the country. The Netherlands also has the most disappointing record in the FIFA World Cup, since they've gotten the runner-up place 3 times now and have yet to ever actually win, the highest number of runner-ups without a victory of any country in the world. North Macedonia has an even worse track record in sports, however, because they have Europe's worst performance at the Olympics, having only ever won a single bronze medal for wrestling back in the 2000 games at Sydney. Norway doesn't really have many bad things to say about it, but I guess they do have Europe's most expensive beer and petrol prices at nearly €7 for a pint of beer and nearly €2 for a liter of petrol. Theoretically, Poland has the most restrictive abortion laws anywhere in Europe. I say theoretically because Vatican City, Malta, San Marino, and Andorra all have more restrictions than Poland do, but they're also all very tiny countries, whereas Poland has the most restrictions of any European nation state and more than anywhere else besides those 4 tiny countries. They are restricted only to cases where the mother's life is in danger, mental or physical health, rape, and/or fetal defects. Portugal has Europe's highest high school dropout rate, with only 60% of the population having completed secondary education. And according to a poll by AirHelp, the lowest rated airport in the entire world is also in Portugal, Lisbon Portela Airport.
You must have been there.
No, Manchester's shit. Innit? Manchester Airport's shit.
You've been to a lot more airports than me, so I've been to worse airports than Manchester, but I've not been to enough to be able to say.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Manchester's up there with one of the shittest airports. I mean, it's nice as design goes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Service wise, it's shit. It's proper bad.
Service, is it?
Yeah.
I think I'd say
Queues are massive for inbound and outbound.
Yeah.
Just unorganised. It's shit.
I think the worst for me is probably Grenoble. But that's because it's so small and there's just nothing there. There's not a lot of facilities.
Some fucking tiny shitty ones.
Schiphol is by far the best.
Well, there's loads that are very good.
Yeah.
Especially if you go to Asia, Tokyo, Korea, places like that.
Yeah.
Have you been to Portugal?
Yeah.
I love Portugal.
I've never been to Portugal.
It's well worth a go.
Is it?
Yeah. You get a lot of value for money, food-wise, amazing villas for relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Obviously, weather's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the place we always used to go to, there's like a small beach just down the road, maybe a couple of miles, and there's a restaurant on the beach that's really nice, and loads of pictures of Marino up there, because Marino goes and that's where he holidays. He hangs out on that beach quite a lot.
We do office blokes on tour. We'll go to Albufeira, Mike. Take you to the strip on Albufeira.
I've been there.
We'll take Mike
a couple of times.
We'll take Mike.
I always get offered dodgy jewellery and drugs in places like Albufeira. People just go like that, and you pull a bag of like powder out of their pants and stuff.
Took my kids down the strip in Albufeira when they were younger, and my eldest one, who was I think at the time was about 14 or 15, was being offered drugs every 5 yards.
Really? Not bad.
Which is weird because it's all been decriminalised in Portugal, and then there's guys offering it you in the street, and then 20 yards that way there's cops stood there, and I'm not interested in that, but I'm sort of looking at it going, is this a sting? Is this some sort of setup? Like, are they trying to get tourists and then maybe they can extort them or something because you've been caught with a bag of cocaine?
When I go to the European holiday resorts, the African guys who are all selling stuff on the waterfront, on the seafront, they always come up to me, and she always says to me, "How come it's always you?" I seem to try to sell something to the guy in front, and they're like, "Do you want to buy a hat? Do you want to buy a necklace?" And they're like, "No," and they move on. They say to me, "Want any Charlie?" I'm like, "I'll have a hat or a necklace." Gainer's like, "Why did they always ask you for that? They did not mention it to anyone else."
Just like, I don't know.
Walking down.
Romania has the lowest amount of movie theaters per capita in Europe, while Russia has a lot of problems. I could make an entire video just about all of the problems Russia has, but here's the quick version.
Yeah.
They have the worst traffic in Europe and Europe's most dangerous roads with the highest number of average traffic deaths. They have the highest suicide rate in all of Europe and the highest for men specifically in the entire world. They have Europe's highest incarceration rate with 363 prisoners per 100,000 people. people. Russia is the most corrupt country in Europe, according to Transparency International. They have the highest rate of opiate usage in Europe and the third highest in the world at 1.64% of the population actively using. They have the highest rate of HIV infection in Europe at 1.2% of the population and have Europe's highest homicide rate. You're 8 times more likely to be murdered in Russia than you are in Germany. Russia has the lowest minimum wage in Europe at just 66 US cents per hour. And according to the Gay Travel Index, Russia is also by far the most unfriendly country in Europe towards LGBT people.
You best stay out of Moscow, Mike.
And among the worst places in...
Did you see when Stephen Fry went over there? But obviously he's big in Russia. They you know, he's
very big everywhere. He's about 6'5".
Well,
Big lad, isn't he? Yeah.
He's popular because of all the, you know, he's got a lot of credits over the years, so he is popular. And then he went over there and sat down with a politician and talked about why it's illegal to promote homosexuality. And you know, and the guy was like, "Oh, Stephen Fry, I love you." You know, he was a fan.
Yeah.
And then he just pressed him, and he was just like, "Well, I'm gay. You know, what's the problem?" And it got quite awkward. But it's supposed to be really bad over there because it's illegal to be promoting being gay.
Yeah.
So if you're outwardly gay, they can say that you're trying to turn kids gay by
acting,
just by
what they perceive as being
outwardly gay.
Yeah.
And you
By
go to
skipping
prison.
and things like that.
Yeah. Eating avocados. I like avocados, to be fair.
And you like
entire world to live as an LGBT person, on a par with Afghanistan or Libya. Moving on, San Marino is the most difficult country in Europe to conduct business in, according to the Ease of Doing Business Index. And it's the least linguistically diverse country in Europe as well. Serbia has the worst gun problem in Europe, with Europe's highest firearm-related death rate. Slovakia has the lowest voter turnout of any country in Europe, with only 23% of eligible voters in the country actually voting in the last European Parliament elections in 2019, which is a much lower turnout than even Americans had in the 2016 presidential election that saw 55% turnout. People just don't vote in Slovakia, but in addition to that, Slovakia is also probably Europe's most racist country. A study conducted by the European Commission in 2015 asked people in EU member states how they would feel about their children dating somebody from a different background, and Slovakia gave back the most prejudiced results, with very high majorities of people saying that they wouldn't be comfortable with it. I couldn't find anything that's...
Do you not think some of that might be religious as well? Because there's a lot of cultures where, you know, Catholics aren't supposed to marry non-Catholics, and
maybe,
it's frowned upon in a lot of sort of Jewish communities to marry outside of the faith and things like that. So there might be more to that. Obviously, there probably are. There's probably quite a few racists as well.
I think the further east you go in Europe, I think you'll probably I think it does get more racist, don't it?
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of it, certainly from football perspective. You can just see some of the fans, can't you, in the way that react. And
I know a guy who travels all over with Manchester United football, and he actually said to me, he went to, I think it was Red Star Belgrade. Did you play last year? They've changed the name. They don't call Red Star anymore. But he said it was the most scariest place he's ever been to. He never gets scared. He always goes to the local bars and sort of like you do when you go to the away games. When he went there, he went, worst place I've ever been.
Really?
He was terrified.
Yeah.
Is he a white guy?
Yeah.
The reason I was saying about the religious thing was because that survey he was citing was, it was if your kids dated someone more diverse.
My parents didn't want me dating anything other than we weren't allowed to have men. We weren't allowed to have Catholic girlfriends.
Really?
No.
Wow. Well, see, and that's technically racist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although it's like white on white.
I'm talking
racism.
when I was younger.
Yeah.
Back in the late 90s when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You son of a kid.
Slovenia was the worst at, other than being confused for Slovakia all the time. So, great job, guys. Other than Russia, Spain has the highest number of active separatist movements in Europe, with 12 ongoing, some of which have pretty widespread support. At least 42% of the population in Catalonia favors independence. 33% of the population...
Didn't Catalonia vote for independence, but then it was overturned?
Yeah, they arrested the guy. It was it's a massive issue in Spain, isn't it? With like I think it's Basque
Catalonia.
Yeah.
I've been to the Basque region a couple of times, and I think we did it when we were kids, and there was reps involved. You know, when you sort of get flown out, and they actually said it's real. You know, just be careful because it is there. There's a sort of undertone.
Yeah. But I know people from Barcelona. They say the Catalonian. They don't say the Spanish.
Yeah.
And the Basque Country do as well, and around 25% of the population in Galicia. Spain is perhaps the least likely country in Europe to survive in her current borders by the end of the 21st century. Weirdly, Sweden has the highest number of grenade and bomb attacks anywhere in Europe, with over 100 such attacks taking place in 2019 alone. Switzerland has the lowest rate of home ownership in Europe at only 43.4% of the population actually owning theirs. Perhaps this is because Switzerland is also the most expensive country in the entire world to live in. They have the world's highest cost of living, highest priced restaurants, highest priced groceries, and highest priced mobile data anywhere in the world. Zurich and Geneva are both the most expensive cities to live anywhere in Europe and among the highest priced cities anywhere in the world. Turkey.
It's beautiful though, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was, when I went, it was about 15 years ago. And I went on maps on my phone and didn't realise that I'd get charged for the data. Literally, I looked at a map once and took a screenshot of it, and it was about 30 quid.
Really?
Yeah.
Has the lowest level of English proficiency in Europe at only 47% of the population. That's still kind of a lot. Anyway, Turkey also has the lowest freedom of the press score in Europe, the highest number of journalists imprisoned anywhere in the world, Europe's highest obesity rate at 32% of the population, the lowest overall gender equality score in Europe, and according to the Fragile States Index, Turkey is also Europe's least stable country with the highest number of terrorist incidents of any country with land on the continent. Ukraine has Europe's lowest birth rate, at only 1.3 children per one woman in the country being the average. They also have Europe's lowest life expectancy, at only 72 years, which is over a decade lower than Italians with 83.6 years. Men in Ukraine only have life expectancies of 67 years, which is on a par with men in Pakistan or Syria. And according to the same World Happiness Report that rated Finland as the world's happiest country, they also rated Ukraine as Europe's least happy. They have the lowest amount of internet users in Europe, with only 57% of the population being connected. Ukrainian citizens are also the poorest in all of Europe, with the average Ukrainian only having a mean net worth of $8,792 which is poorer than the average citizen of Kenya or Nicaragua is. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, the United Kingdom has the highest usage of cocaine anywhere in the world, with rough.
That's not the worst. That's a trophy, that. Hey?
Nah. Don't know what you're talking about. So how do you guys get 3 videos out a day every day?
Just work hard. Just work hard.
I've just seen Joey Diaz give me a... yeah. No kidding. Hey.
2.7% of adults who actively use it. And finally, Vatican City is the final and sole surviving absolute monarchy in Europe, which pretty much by default makes it the least democratic country in Europe. And now that you've made it this far, getting through me telling you what your favorite countries in Europe are the worst at, I think you deserve a reward.
Do you know what, though? If you're going to be bad at one thing, that's got to be it. And that's brave, that, isn't it? Hey. That's like...
I like how we get cocaine use and then the Vatican, it's like, oh, what are they going to be the worst at? Oh, they've just got they've had a monarchy or whatever for,
that's it.
No, I think there's things that the Vatican are worse at per capita than the rest of Europe.
Yeah,
I'm all right with I'm all right with ours.
Quite comfortable. I think they could come up with a few more things, though, couldn't they? But
I thought obesity would have been the UK. When I saw it come up on there, I thought, maybe that would have been the UK, but it's not.
Yeah, same here.
Turkey was.
If they said obesity for the UK, I would have believed it. I wouldn't have questioned it, to be fair.
Yeah, but you said about Turkey with the most terrorist incidents, and I think when you look at their land borders with Iraq and places like Kurdistan, whichever way you want to look at it, there's these issues there all the time. It's ongoing issues. So
yeah, I still think they could have done better with the UK.
Cocaine usage.
Definitely, yeah.
There's got to be something else, or maybe we're just great. Maybe that's what it is. That's the bit of dirt you can find on us.
If that's the case,
turns out they can all read. Their average net worth is all right.
Decent wages, nicest place to live.
No child
slave labour. LGBTQ plus whatever it is values are.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all-
We just
equality
like
is
the
up there.
Charlie.
That's really good.
Yeah.
We've all got wood burners, etc., etc.
Yeah, dickhead.
That you can't use.
They're all extremely progressive, nice, modern cokeheads. I think that's what he's trying to say there.
That's
isn't
what
it?
we're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That's who we are.
Could be worse.
I'm Charlie. I'm Office Bloke Charlie from now on.
Fair enough.
Anyway, hope you guys like that too. Don't forget like and subscribe, hit the bell, tell your mates about us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.